Hello and welcome to the BC Design channel. This week I'm going to be trying to make a hand cut half lap for the first time. The first thing I'm going to do is use my square to mark a straight line across my first piece. Then I'm going to lay the next piece on top, push it up against that line, put my square back on to make sure it's straight, and then I'm going to mark on this side. I have my first two cut lines marked out. Now I need to find the halfway point down along this piece and continue the lines down to meet it. I'm going to use the marking gauge that I made in my last video. I'll put a link up in the top so you can watch that if you want, to find the halfway point on this piece and mark a line with it. So basically all I do is I make a point roughly where I think the middle is, flip it over, and if the 2 points match, it means you're halfway. So then all you need to do is strike your mark down along your piece. So now I think you can see that mark there that I just made. I've made a mark on both sides, so now I know where my halfway point is. The next step, I have to bring the lines from the top of the wood around to meet this line here, and then I'll be able to mark the piece that I need to cut out for the half lap joint. I line the square up with the marks on the top of the piece, then flip it to the side and just continue that line down to the halfway point. That's the first half of the joint marked out. Now I need to mark out the piece that's going to fit in here. So I'm going to lay the first piece I've marked out down on the next piece I have to mark. I just put it across like that. Make sure it's flush at the front. Then I'm just going to mark with a pencil first. Then I'm going to use my square and mark with the knife. My marking gauge is already set to the halfway point on this thickness of wood. So all I'm going to do now is mark a line the whole way round, from here right round the front and onto the other side. So now I have the halfway line marked the whole way around the piece. I need to continue the line from the top down to meet the sides. So now I'm going to use my bench hook to make my first cut. So I finished the first cut. Stop as close to the line as I can. Turned out pretty well. Now to move on to the second cut. I'm going to use my chisel to start cleaning out this piece of the joint. You want to start maybe halfway between the top and your halfway point, but you want to clean the wood out upwards towards the middle. Don't try and take the whole piece out straight across, because you'll more than likely blow out this side. This isn't an ideal way to do this. It'd be best to use a bench vise, but I haven't got one at the moment, so I'm just working with what I have. So that's the first piece cleaned out. Now I have to cut the second piece to fit into this one. Now I'm going to use my saw to cut close to the line, but not exactly on it. I'll chisel down to the line after I've cut most of the waste out. I made a little notch to start the saw off, and I'm going to start diagonally from this side, cut down about halfway, and then flip it over and cut the rest of the way diagonally from the other side. So the dog doesn't appreciate me cutting this. And now I'm going to flip it over and go from the other side. I really need to get my record vise mounted to the bench. This challenge is showing me how much I need it. Also need to sort out the shake in the bench because it doesn't help matters. Okay, so it seems to be going together fairly well. I've cleaned them out both pretty good. So now we just need to see how they fit together. I'm not going to use any glue or anything yet. I'm just going to tap them together and see how they fit. Okay, so all in all, I think it turned out fairly well. Especially for my first try using hand tools making a half lap. So there's the gap on the front bit. I chiseled out a bit too much on the outer edge. But back from the outer edge, it's flush against the rest of the joint. So the gap's only on the outer edge. Small gap on the top there where I went a bit crooked with the saw. but it's still tight on the inside of the joint along the bottom. I overcut with the saw there a bit. There's a small gap in there as well. But overall, I'm happy enough with the joint. I'm looking forward to doing more for this Wood Joint Weekly Challenge. So if you want to join in, go to Instagram, look up the hashtag Wood Joint Weekly, and you can join in and make some of the joints that we're all going to make.